Hey art nerds, today I'm going to teach you how to draw and then color with alcohol markers a beautiful, vibrant daylily. So if you guys are interested in learning how to draw something like this for yourself, you're going to have to keep watching. This tutorial was recorded to help me prepare for my Coloring Flowers with Copic class taught through the Nashville Plaza. If you're interested in taking an alcohol marker class with me in person and you're in the Nashville area, make sure you sign up for one of my future classes. If you'd like to know when I'm going to be in your area, you can sign up for my class mailing list, which is linked in the description below. So this is going to be a multi-stage tutorial. It's going to take me about 2 days, and the reason for that is after I ink my daylily, I'm going to allow the ink to cure overnight. So the materials you're going to need are your floral reference that you're going to work from. This is a photo of a daylily that I took, and I had them printed out so that I could use them in my class. A pencil, fluid easy block watercolor paper. I'm using the 6x6 size here. This is a good size for this sort of work. And then a waterproof / alcohol marker proof brush or pin of your choice. Today we are using Pigment FB. Later in this tutorial, you're also going to need the alcohol markers of your choice. I'm going to be using primarily Copic and Prismacolor, as well as your favorite set of watercolors. The majority of this tutorial will be recorded in time-lapse with me speaking over it, so if it seems like I work really fast, just keep in mind that it's been sped up by about 4 times. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to let you guys know that my art nerds over on Patreon are going to have access to this reference photo, as well as to a copy of the line art that they're free to print out using some of the techniques I've covered in some of my other videos, which will be linked in the description below. They will also have access to the step-by-step guide for using markers with this, as well as using watercolors with this. So if you would like access to all of those things, you can head on over to patreon.com/natosoup, and for just $2 a month, you can help support what I'm doing here on the channel. Your support means so much to me, and I would really like to believe that I'm making it quite worthwhile for the art nerds who choose to support me. So you can visit natosoup.patreon.com for more information. Okay, so now that this is ink, I'm going to allow it to cure for 24 hours. If you'd like to work on this along with me and you're an art nerd, you'll have access to this line art because I'm going to go scan it once this is dried. But you're going to have access to this line art through my Gumroad account. Art art nerds probably know what I'm talking about already. So if you want to color this exact image along with me, I'll have the photo and I'll have this illustration available for you guys, and you can print it at home using a toner printer, or you can print out blue lines and ink those. So again, I'm going to allow my ink to dry, to cure, to bond with the paper. That's one of the keys to not having smeared ink. I'm going to allow it to cure for 24 hours. You can wait as little as 10 minutes, but I find that 24 hours gives me the best result. So I'll see you guys then with our markers. Okay, art nerds, this has had a chance to dry for 24 hours, so I'm coming back to it fresh. It's ready. I am going to erase it using a really soft eraser. This is a Creative Mark White Stroke. This is a very, very soft white vinyl eraser. I'm sorry about my camera being weird. It's a very soft white vinyl eraser, so the combination of allowing your inks to cure overnight and then using a very soft vinyl eraser means it's far less likely to pick up your ink and to cause ghosting. So rather than erase it on camera, you all know what erasing looks like. I'll just check in with you after it's been erased. Okay, so it has been cleaned, it has been scanned. If you're looking to remove your extra eraser bits, I highly recommend buying a drafting brush. These things are really, really cheap. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my color selections and I'm going to swatch them, and then I'll check in with you guys with the colors that we're starting with. So here y'all see a big old pile of colors. What I did was I picked any color that seems like it might be a likely lead, and then I'm just going to narrow it down from there. I find it easier to kind of work from a big pool and swatch that and then exit out than to try and work from a small pool and then guess the colors I need. I mean, you guys will see as we go on that I am going to be guessing colors here and there and repicking, but it's going to be in a much smaller quantity than if I hadn't started with such a large pool. So I do need to pick some red, violets, some purples, but we have a lot of yellows, we have a lot of yellow greens, we have some greens, we have some greens and blues, we have some blue greens, and then we have just a couple of blues for our darkest lowlights. We've also got some oranges because you guys can see some orange on the stamens of this flower. The only thing I really think I'm lacking, and I may opt not to do this, or I may wait to do this in watercolor, is you see how there's a bit of a gray shadow on the petals. For that sort of shading, I may leave that to my watercolor, and I will explain as we get further on in the tutorial. And here I have a piece of inexpensive cellulose-based watercolor paper. This is Fabriano Studio, and I recommend when you're swatching, especially if you're working with unusual watercolors, you swatch on the same paper or a similar paper. This is going to give us a good idea of how these colors are going to look and handle on the type of paper that we're using. So let's go ahead and dive into swatching. I'm going to do that in time-lapse, and I'm going to label as I go to help me keep track. The colors used in this tutorial are PG186, G00, PB37, PB43, RV14, FV2, RV69, G00, PB186, PB51, PB37, PB43, Y04, YG01, G03, PG186, Y00, YG01, YG03, G03, Y04, PB131, YG11, G03, PB19, PB17, PB14, G82, PB19, YG03, Y18, PB19, Y04, Y38. You guys will find a list of all of the colors used in this tutorial in the description below. Again, art nerds will have full access to the step-by-step written tutorial over on patreon.com/natosoup. Okay, so for this particular illustration, we're going to start with our background first. That means we're going to start with our greens and with our purples. Step 1, Foreground Leaves. Apply layer of PB186, leaving white highlights along the topmost part of the leaf. Blend that out with G00. Apply another layer of PB186 to the center of the leaf to create basic shadow. Once first application is dried, apply another layer of PB186. This color will be slightly darker upon application. If you get any stray green in the flower, clean it up using a colorless blender to push the green back. Step 2. Background Contrast Accent. Apply small oblong dots of RV14 at top right and bottom left corners. This is where we're using red violet and purple to create contrast with our greens and yellow daylily. Do the same with FV2, overlapping the RV14 slightly and covering more area. Do the same again with RV69, covering it slightly more. If you get any of these colors into the leaves, you can either blend it out using G00 or PB186. Repeat with PB51. If you're dissatisfied with the result, feel free to go back in with prior colors. Step 3. Background Grass. With loose irregular strokes, begin filling the remaining background with PB37, mimicking smaller grass or leaves. Strokes should radiate from the daylily and do not need to fill every crevice. This is just a base. Do the same with PB43, filling in less space and creating a shadow for your grass. Add more strokes of PB43 beneath the flower, fewer above, giving the impression of light casting a shadow. Allow ink to evaporate. Once dry, apply another layer of PB43. Step 4. Adding shadows to the leaves. Using PB37, render the shadows in center of the foreground daylily leaves. This will add a cooler green tone to the leaves. Do the same with PB31. Allow to dry, then add your darkest blue shadows with PB43 only directly beneath the daylily petals and where the leaves cross one another. Step 5. Daylily Bud. Apply Y04 to entire bud, and while still wet, apply YG03 to majority of bud. Reapply Y04 to blend out. Apply YG01, then while still wet, a little bit of G03 in the shadows. Blend out with YG01, then apply Y04 to majority of bud and Y08 towards top left. Apply PB186 to top of bud and right side. Step 6. Starting the daylily. All over the daylily, petal by petal, fill with Y00. I did large petals first, then I applied to the smaller petals. Step 7. Center of the daylily. In the center of the flower, first apply YG01, then YG03, and finally G03 to the center of the flower, where the stamens begin. Blend YG03 out with YG01 and G03 with YG03. Step 8. Rendering the petals. Working petal by petal, apply Y04, radiating from the center towards the edges of each petal, stopping slightly after midway and leaving the ruffles mainly untouched. Blend out with Y00 to soften the transition between colors if desired. Apply PB131 from the center, stopping just short. Blend out with Y04. Add another layer of PB131 to the center of the flower and a little YG11 towards the very center, towards the very center, a bit of 03. G03. Referencing the flower photo, add PB19 towards the center of the petal. Repeat for each petal, working from the large front petals towards the smaller back petals. Step 9. Stamen, Petals, and Pollen. Apply a layer of PB19 to the stamen, then PB17 for the pollen, and Y08 to the stems. Apply Y38, then YR04, and PB14 to the pollen in rapid succession. Allow to dry. Apply Y18 to the stems while drying, then reapply PB14 to the pollen once pollen is dried. At this point, everything has been filled in, so it's a good opportunity to reevaluate your color. This is going to be at your discretion, but I'll share the alterations that I've made. Step 10. I applied G82 to the center of the flower, reapplied PB19 to the center of each petal once it dried. Applied YG03 to the center of some of the smaller petals. Applied YG18 over the PB19 for more intense yellow payoff. Now I'm using both Copic and Prismacolor markers for this tutorial because Prismacolor has some colors that are just not available in the Copic line. Prismacolor is particularly good at really nice, strong, intense yellows, soft, buttery yellows, and really vivid purples and hot pinks. So that's why I'm using a lot of Prismacolors in this tutorial. I highly recommend you guys do your own color swatching and select colors at your own discretion. This is mostly just a step-by-step guide to help you guys feel more confident in using alcohol markers to render beautiful flowers. Next step is going to be our watercolor step. Okay, so our alcohol marker has been applied, but we are half done. The other half of this tutorial is going to focus on using watercolors and watercolor pencils to finish rendering this piece. What we've done is we've laid the groundwork. Now we're going to add in some of the shadows and some of the shading. So the watercolor kit you use is really going to be up to you. I want to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of grittiness, so I'm going to use the Daniel Smith Ultimate Mixing Half Pan Palette. Some of these colors are fairly granulating, so that's going to add a lot of visual interest to this piece. You're also going to want to have your watercolor pencils handy, as well as some white gouache. The materials you're going to need for this part of the tutorial are the watercolor set of your choice, a couple of watercolor brushes, a clean cup, and ideally a non-porous work surface. I'm working on an Ink Essentials craft mat here. I'm going to do a lot of my color mixing using the mat itself. For this tutorial, I'm using the Daniel Smith Ultimate Mixing Half Pan Palette Set. I'm using watercolor brushes, a small, a round, and a large round. You really only need 2 for this, and a cup of clean water. So step 11, background. Using larger round, mix phthalo blue, viridian green, and a bit of burnt umber with a lot of water. Apply to background in grass-like strokes, covering most but not all of the background. While still wet, mix phthalo blue with Qor Magenta and dab that into the shadows of the grass using the smaller brush. Do not clean brushes between applications. Work in sections. As contrast color, Qor Magenta and phthalo blue begins to dry, reapply with light grass-like strokes. Adjust according to taste. Wash brush and allow to dry. Background shadows. Once background has dried, using smaller brush, mix phthalo blue and burnt umber with original phthalo blue, viridian, and burnt umber mixture. Apply in grass-like strokes to background to create further shadows. Apply to grassy area. Clean brush. Using same small brush, mix Qor Magenta with original Qor Magenta and phthalo blue mix and apply to leaves in oblong shapes. Clean brush and allow to dry. Step 13, shadows on foreground leaves. Mix phthalo blue and viridian green. Apply using small brush to center of leaves. Colors should be fairly saturated, so use larger brush, dabbing it off to remove excess water to blend some areas out. Repeat for all leaves. You may wish to revisit some areas with another layer. Wash brush, allow to dry. Step 14, shadows on the Daylily Bud. Mix light wash of phthalo blue with small brush. Apply to Daylily bulb. While wet, dab more concentrated mix of phthalo blue into top of bud. Allow to dry. Once dry, apply another, slightly more concentrated mix of phthalo blue using a smaller brush. You may wish to lift some color using a thirsty brush, or wash it out slightly if phthalo blue becomes too overwhelming. Allow to dry. Step 15, shadows on the Daylily. Using watered down phthalo blue mixture and larger brush, apply mixture to center a petal by petal, avoiding stamens, pollen, and pistil. Allow to dry. Once dry, wet center of flower with clean water, dab in mixture of phthalo blue and viridian. Allow to dry. Add slight ruffle of very watered down Payne's gray, or Jane's gray in our instance, to ruffles on larger petals. Blend out as necessary. If you find your flower has gone too blue, change your rinse water and allow flower to dry and apply washes of yellow. Step 18, adding stronger color to the pollen. Using the small brush, apply a little bit of Payne's gray to the center of each pollen. Allow to dry. And then you're going to tweak the piece to suit your taste. So we are nearing the end of our journey together. Once this has fully dried, you can start using your watercolor color pencils and your white gouache. The color pencils we're using today are a mix of several different brands. I just buy different brands and try them. If I like them, they go into my big watercolor pencil case. But we have some Inktense, we have some Albrecht Durer, we have some Caran d'Ache Super Color. So whatever color pencils you like and whatever colors you think will work to make your piece better, that's really the way to go. Color pencils are a great addition to your watercolor and alcohol marker mixed media piece because you're going to be able to blend them out very easily, and these are really just useful for adding pops of color and kind of massaging the color in the direction you want it to go. Once the piece is fully dry, you can apply some color using watercolor pencils. We're going to be using Permanent Green by Albrecht Durer, Derwent Inktense in Filled Green, Albrecht Durer Light Magenta, Derwent Inktense Golden Yellow, Caran Supercolor 2 in Orange, Caran Supercolor 2 in White, and Derwent Inktense White, as well as M. Graham's White Gouache. So step 18, color pencils. I applied Permanent Green to the foreground Daylily Leaves, applying the green to break up and lighten some of the darker areas. If you don't like the transition, you can blend it out using a clean brush and water. I also applied this color to the Daylily bulb as well as the center of the daylily. I applied a little bit of light magenta to the background just to lighten up our red-violet contrast area. I also applied golden yellow towards the center of the flower and blended this out with clean water. I allowed it to dry and reapplied. I applied a little orange to the pollen. I used white on the daylily to help reintroduce the creaminess of the yellow. Step 19, gouache. I applied a dab of white gouache to my non-stick craft mat with a very small round watercolor brush. I apply it to the highlights on the leaves, daylily, and background grass. I allowed the gouache to dry as well. So why use alcohol markers and watercolor? Alcohol markers are a dye-based medium that are only reactive to other alcohol solvents. Watercolor is often a pigment medium that is water reactive. The water in watercolor will not reactivate the dyes in alcohol markers, and it can be useful for adding contrast shadows or details without dulling or muting the original colors. Alcohol markers come in a beautiful range of intense colors and often reach intensities not available in watercolor, so using the two mediums together can create really striking work. And I hope you guys will also look forward to my hibiscus and my passion flower tutorials, which are going to be coming really soon. Alright, art nerds, I think we are just about done other than letting it fully dry and cleaning up our area. I hope you guys found this helpful, useful, and informative. We did kind of overwork this flower a bit. I just wanted to demonstrate a lot of techniques for you guys. You guys will be able to find a step-by-step transcript of what we talked about in this video, either in the description below, or if it's too long for the description, you're going to be able, I will have it on a Google Doc and I will link it because I know that sort of accessibility is really helpful for people. So I'm going to let this dry and clean up my area, and we'll talk about why using alcohol markers with watercolors is such a good idea. Okay, arty friends, so why use alcohol markers with watercolors? Well, alcohol markers are a dye-based medium that are only reactive to other alcohol solvents. Watercolor is often a pigment medium that is water reactive. The water in watercolor will not reactivate the dyes in your alcohol markers and can be useful for adding contrast shadows or details without dulling or muting the original colors. Alcohol markers come in a beautiful range of intense colors and can often reach intensities that are not available in watercolor, so using the two mediums together can create really striking work. Watercolor is a great way to extend your alcohol marker range, and it's a fantastic solution for artists who might have smaller alcohol marker collections or have large areas that they wish to color and don't want to either use their markers or may find their markers difficult to use in those sort of scenarios. So I hope you guys found this video to be helpful, useful, and informative. I hope it was inspiring for you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. You'll be able to find a transcript, as I mentioned, in the description below. If you would like access to this line art so that you can color along, you can join the Art Nerd community over at patreon.com. It starts at just $1 a month and goes up from there. But my wonderful art nerds, my dear patrons, get access to loads of my line arts through a very special Gumroad coupon. And their support is what allows me to continue doing videos like this on the channel. This video was recorded to help me prepare for a class on coloring florals, coloring flowers with Copic markers taught through the Nashville Area Plaza. If you like what I do and you live in the area and you're interested in taking an in-person class with me, I teach through Nashville Community Ed and I teach through Plaza. You guys can find more information about that and also learn when my classes are going to be available in your area by signing up for my class mailing list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys again really soon. Bye, guys!